Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 9 of our WWF 1992 save in TEW 2020. This is our state of the WWF for February 1992. In all honesty, these early state ofs we do in each series, they just don't really have a lot to them other than just seeing the popularity growth for different superstars. So this will be a bit of a shorter episode. These get a little more exciting, I guess you could say. As we get further into the series, you can see how much the game world has kind of changed. But for now, we're only a month in. I do these just to, as the completist that I am, to have one for each month as we go along this journey. So we're going to kind of look at where things stand a month into gameplay. You will immediately notice not the fact that Shinya Hashimoto has been added to the Dragon Bombers and they've kicked out Jushin Thunder Liger. But you see a lot of WWF names here that are gone from the WWF. Just going to be completely honest with you. These were just contracts that I did not look at and did not realize that when the game world started, these were people who had less than a month left on their contracts. So, of course, we didn't get the notification because their contracts were already going to expire. So, General Adnan, Marty Jannetty, Haku, there are others as well. Don't worry. You will see most of these guys back. I'm not going to let you know if you're going to see everybody back, but most of these guys you will see return to the WWF in the near future. So that's just on me. I don't spend a whole lot of time in the office section. Because I'm usually just going show to show, and this early in a save, I just honestly forgot to look at this. And remember too, I took a couple months off from playing this, so that also probably didn't help in terms of me remembering to look at contracts and all that. So don't worry, I can give you 100% certainty. Haku's going to be back. So he's in the middle of a big storyline right now that we just jump started on Saturday night's main event. So Haku will be back kicking ass like he usually does. So Haku will be back. No worries. All right, let's look at some of the stuff here. Like I said, there's not a lot really of note in the company wars so far. We are big. We'll look at our size and all that in a second. WCW, if we look at kind of where they are at this point, you can kind of track their progress. So stayed about the same. Did lose a popularity, 1 point in the Mid-Atlantic and the Southeast, but not a lot to note here with WCW. Not a lot going on so far. If we look at their top 100s to this point, an 81 event. Got some rough ones in terms of main event and all that, but that's to be expected. Their main shows have pretty much delivered. If you want to look at their top 100 matches, only one here in the light blue, Sting and Ron Simmons beating the Dangerous Alliance on a World Championship Wrestling episode. So that's worth noting there with that. So not a lot in terms of competition. New Japan, still big. We can kind of look at their size, although it doesn't really affect us all that much. But yeah, they lose a point everywhere. But again, this is where there's just not a lot to get into just yet when it comes to this. If you want to look at the most popular stars, not also a big surprise to see some of the names at the top here. Most of them within our company, some are not. But you can kind of expect where Hogan's at this point, and we'll look at the popularity ratings for everyone else there. All right, so let's look at our size. You see kind of where we are here, 84, our highest point in New England right now, Tri-State as well. Got some 80s floating around here, and if we look at the progress, we actually lost quite a bit, and we knew this was going to happen. I tell you guys this in every series we do. Usually the first month, we always drop a little bit, and it's really just a matter of how do we kind of figure out how to get the momentum going. Remember, those first couple episodes of Superstars of Wrestling, we took a bit of a hit ratings-wise until we could figure out exactly how we wanted to structure it to make it feel realistic based on how they were booking in this era, which you can't do completely, but we did at least get close enough to where our ratings have been much better, and so there's just going to be a little bit of a knock for that right off the bat. But I think we'll start to get these back up, especially given some of our feuds are starting to kind of pick up steam here on the road to WrestleMania 8. So that is worth noting. I don't think I really have anything to hide in the creative section, so we can actually look at that. I don't have any big debuts that you won't see in terms of the roster right now. We kind of see it here. Flair's still number 1, Savage, Hogan, DiBiase, Jake. Our next big things, look who got added to the list, none other than Al Snow himself. So Al Snow comes in as a jobber, still one of the next big things. I don't necessarily agree with the Nasty Boys being on here. Big Boss Man I'll take, but there's your list of next big things. Hot prospects, no surprise to see everyone on here, except for maybe Al Snow. No offense to Al Snow, but you got Michaels, British Bulldog, Al, Owen Hart, and Earthquake. We're kind of using all these guys in different roles right now. We're definitely leaning in on our hot prospects, and you know why? Because we are in February of 92, and if we are going to make that transition into Monday Night Raw, in 93. We got to start building up some of these guys. So we've definitely taken a focus on that. If we go to who's hot, Tatanka, still at the top here. I don't think Tatanka's lost a match yet, but it's just been him against a bunch of jobbers to this point. Savage and Flair, of course, are hot. The Ultimate Warrior, who we've not seen in the series, and then Michaels has a lot of momentum based on how we've been pushing him. Who's not? Always love to see that. No one. So worth noting there. If you're curious who the hidden gems are, it's kind of a roster of ECW guys here. The Sandman and Raven, but you also have Sean Morley, the future Val Venus, Tom Pritchard, Night Train Jackson. Thinking about bringing in Tom Pritchard. I think it'd be nice to have as a worker, to duel it out as a heel with some of these other guys at the top of the card. So we'll see if Tom Pritchard joins at some point soon. Our title situation has not changed. Still have no heavyweight champion. I know people are wondering, are we losing prestige, but we're not. So still no heavyweight champion. I know that may take a hit. I don't know if that's how that works. You guys can remind me. I think it takes a hit if you don't have a champion for a certain amount of time. I know we kind of went the bold way of not having a champion until WrestleMania, but we wanted to try something a little bit different. Intercontinental Championship still at 71. Hasn't really changed there. King of the Ring, haven't had that yet. Royal Rumble, 68. You know me, I've got to change that. I'm like, that's not the 1992 Royal Rumble signal or the symbol, so I have to change that. Our tag team champions have stayed the same. It's still LOD. And look at Haku. He's looking at LOD saying, we're about to be number one. Because we're setting up the feud between LOD and Haku and the Barbarian. So, worth noting there. Storylines. We've done just enough on these, but you guys know I don't update these as often as I should. I probably will after this, but the Sid one is still at the top. So Sid, the snake bite, I think this one has certainly been our most prominent story so far, including the Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan stuff that's been going on too. So that's, like I said, there's not a lot here. I'm trying to see if there's anything else financially. If you're curious, we have $15 million. We're doing okay. Our performance, we pick up about $2.7 million. In the positive direction. So making money, doing a lot with that. And so, we're doing okay there with everything on that. I'm trying to see if there's anything else other before we jump into the popularity. But to be honest, guys, I just don't think there is. Like, this is the way it works with these early ones. And so, let's jump into our popularity ratings here. And we're going to do this as always. We're going to filter it by push. So we start with the top stars here. You can kind of see if anything's changed. Hogan has not done a lot. I don't know. Have we even had Hogan wrestle a match yet? I don't know if we have. If he did, we know he won. That's for sure. Hogan's popularity has gone up a bit. So, boy, if you thought we had a challenge already with getting Hogan to lose a match, it's only getting worse from here because he's really getting close to being at 100 in the Midwest. So, but we know he's out of action, sideline after the dastardly attack at the Royal Rumble. We still don't know who's behind the attack, but perhaps we'll find out soon enough. Jake the Snake has been on a tear, as we know, involved in all this stuff going on with Randy Savage and Elizabeth. And boy, my goodness, I did not even realize that Jake had taken this big of a step forward. Look at this, 17 points in the Mid-South, which makes sense. Jake should be taking a step up in Mid-South, given his history there. So 17 in the Mid-South here. It goes from a 64 to an 81. But, I mean, it makes sense, right? We've only used him in hot segments. I can't think of a segment Jake's been in that has not been hot in terms of, like, having a great rating because they've all been associated with Randy Savage. And so, I think that would make sense. But, wow, I was not expecting him to take that big of a jump. Speaking of Savage, my goodness, he's also way up there now. And he's taking a pretty significant jump here, too, if you look at it. We got it going up 8 spots in a lot of areas. So he's up into the mid-90s now. So at what point does Randy Savage decide not to job for anyone? And how much harder does that make our job here as booking the WWF in 1992? All right, so Ric Flair's at 91. I have to believe he's jumped up too, yeah. So Flair jumps up from the green to the light blue. Always like to see that. And so Flair making a big, this is getting interesting. When we got egos in play here, we got a lot of guys who are very popular now and a lot of guys who don't want to lose, maybe. So we'll see what that, how that factors in. DiBiase has not played a huge role yet, but he still has been involved in a lot of hot segments with some of the top stars in terms of, pairing them with interviews and Royal Rumble, highlight or setups, all that kind of stuff. So I can see why DiBiase's jumped up a bit too. Like we said, Warrior's not been featured here at all. The Undertaker, where is Taker at? He's jumped up quite a bit here in the Great Lakes. He gets his first jump into this color here. And he's going in the right direction. We all know that I'm not just going to let the 26-year-old Undertaker not do anything. So all of our main eventers, I'd have to say, we've had a big success with this entire group so far. And so I'm feeling pretty good about where our main event guys are. Let's look at the stars now. because, Bobby the Brain, I mean, we haven't really used him in anything, so I don't think Heenan's going to go up with anything. Yeah, so Gene, I mean, we've used Gene in a lot of stuff. I wonder if Gene's gotten the bump on some of these. Yep, he has, of course. So he's taking a little bit of a step forward. Miss Elizabeth, she's interesting. We haven't used her in a lot. I mean, she's been the focus point of certain things, or the focal point, but, she's going to gain some popularity too, just by default, being in the stuff with Jake and Savage. We had the big angle with Flair on the most recent one. Piper has been in some angles, kind of pushing him on commentary, and then, of course, he got physically involved with Jake the Snake at Saturday night's main event, so a little bit of a jump up for Piper. Sergeant Slaughter, we've not really done anything with Sergeant Slaughter, and I don't know. I'm a big fan of Sarge, but he's kind of in that lost spot right now where we got a lot of other guys we're trying to push, and so he's still up there, so there's value in using Sarge, but we'll see what we use him for. Then we got Sid, who's not done a lot since his return, but he has, gotten himself into this heated spot with The Undertaker, so Sid moving forward as well. So I feel pretty good about pushing stars and their popularity ratings right now. So, all right, well known. We'll kind of stop here because there's really not a lot happening on the guys beyond this. Big Boss Man, I mean, he's kind of stayed the same. He's bounced around a little bit, had some decent matches so far. He's angry, by the way, in case you weren't aware of this, but how we handled one of the incidents involving him. I don't remember what we did either, but he's not happy, so that's worth noting. Bret Hart, Intercontinental Champion. Yeah, Bret's moving in the right direction, which we know is important for the future of our save. Earthquake has been in some pretty nice segments, I'd say, so he's jumping up into some green here. I like to see that. IRS, he's been involved with DiBiase, but hasn't really done anything standalone, so doesn't get anything for him there. Nothing on Jimmy Hart or Lord Alfred. Mr. Perfect's out injured, we know. The back injury. Shawn Michaels, now that has obviously been a big priority, but not a lot happening for Shawn so far, so only jumped up one here, which is not surprising because it's not like he's beaten Coco, he's beaten a couple other, he's beaten Owen Hart, but he doesn't have any huge wins yet. So that will change likely as we continue to move forward here. Tatanka, all the momentum, but he's not really featured in a program right now. So a little surprised at Shawn. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought he'd jump up a little bit more, but it's okay. Davey Boy has also been a bit of a focus, and so he's jumped up a little bit, but it's got to get some wins over some bigger stars for that to matter. Like I said, I don't really even know beyond well-known, recognizable. There's a lot of guys here, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's really not anyone that I would say I would expect to have just a huge jump. I'm looking down the list here. Repo Man's been involved in some stuff, but he's not winning big matches or anything. He's jumped up a little bit, but Sherry's just in a manager role. Barbarian, I guess, is interesting. He's won a couple of interesting matches. Yeah, so Barb's jumping up a little bit here. I'm sure Haku, once we get him back on the roster, once he actually has a contract, we can look at him too. But so Barb's moving up. That's good. I've always been a fan of the Barbarian. So the Mountie, there we go. That's the other one I was looking for. So the Mountie always gets his man. Not really getting much in popularity though. So Texas Tornado, I guess another one we could look at. Kerry Von Erich's been a little bit featured, but not much. So that's about it. Typhoon's not really done a lot, I guess. So so that's it. Again, these are pretty basic at this point because they're just not. We've not had enough matches. You're filtering guys back and forth. So not a lot to this state of for the WWF in 1992. Just know we're still doing okay. But the biggest thing I think we take away from this month, our main eventers are gaining a lot of popularity, even though the company has lost some popularity from a size standpoint. Our main eventers are gaining a lot, and so that's what we want. We're starting to get some of those guys moving up the card a little bit. That's what we're wanting too, and we know there will start to be kind of that shift, maybe. Well, we'll see. The steroid trial, all that, we got a lot of stuff still to come in terms of the timeline here. But, we'll see kind of how everything works out for us on the road to WrestleMania 8. And then, as we continue to move forward, 93, 94, how do things change in the WWF? We'll find out soon enough. But I appreciate you guys watching as always. Like I said, excited to be back here doing these series. So be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out all the other episodes in this series if you're just catching on to this one for the first time. Check out all the other episodes building up the stories to this point. We are on the road to WrestleMania 8 here in a couple months, so we got a lot of superstars of wrestling to build to it. We're going to be creative with how we kind of push some of these stories and all that. And then we will have the TCW safe coming back. I'm almost finished, actually, booking that episode. So we should have a new episode of TCW if you're waiting for the new Seaverse episode. We'll get that out this week, too. Should. So, I appreciate you guys watching as always. And on the next episode of our WWF 1992 save, it will be Superstars of Wrestling for February, week 1.